Coming up on Network Africa, the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces agreed to U.S. proposal for a humanitarian ceasefire in Sudan. Kenya demands safety for its citizens in and around Tanzania after the post-election crackdown. Plus, Nigeria joins over 170 accredited leaders in the Brazilian Amazon for the COP30 Leaders Summit in Belém. Hello and welcome to the program today. It's the last episode for the week. I'm Layo Olarinde. Sudan's paramilitary Rapid Support Forces have agreed to a proposal from the U.S. for a humanitarian ceasefire. In a statement, the RSF says it agreed to enter the truce proposed by the four countries in order to address the catastrophic humanitarian consequences of the war and to allow the urgent delivery of aid. The group also adds that it looks forward to discussions about ending hostilities in a manner that addresses the root causes of the conflicts. The RSF issued the statement after seizing the city of El Fasher in the western Darfur region. In the meantime, Sudan's military-led government has not yet responded. Their 18-month siege blocked humanitarian aid despite repeated United Nations appeals. Kenya is calling for the safety of its citizens that are caught up in the post-election violence in neighboring Tanzania. Kenya's foreign minister has told his Tanzanian counterpart that their safety must be guaranteed, especially in light of the post-election violence in the country. Kenyan citizens are said to be living in fear in Tanzania after being reportedly targeted in a brutal crackdown on the protests that followed last week's disputed election. The Foreign Affairs Minister, Musalia Mudavadi, says the rights of some Kenyans have been violated and that formal reports have been submitted to the Tanzanian authorities for appropriate action. During a phone conversation, Mr. Mudavadi said he told his Tanzanian foreign counterpart minister, the Foreign Minister Mahmoud Thabit, that concerns would be addressed through the established diplomatic and consular channels. But he also reaffirmed the importance of safeguarding the rights, safety and dignity of Kenyans that are living in Tanzania. President Samia Suluhu Hassan of Tanzania won the poll with 98% of the vote and in her inauguration speech condemned the violence and blamed foreigners for stoking the unrest. Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima has joined more than 140 delegates and over 170 accredited leaders in the Brazilian Amazon for the Leaders Summit in Belém, Pará, Brazil. The Brazilian government says the goal of the summit is to align commitments and lay the groundwork for negotiations that will take place during COP30 that's coming up next week, which Brazil will host also in the capital of Pará. The Vice President addressed the World Leaders Plenary amid the summit, and he is scheduled to join a Tropical Forest Forever Fund. It's a roundtable on climate and nature chaired by President Lula da Silva before attending an Amazonian cocktail reception for heads of delegation hosted by the Brazilian president.
World leaders arrive in Berlin for a climate summit, among them the Nigerian vice president.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the vice president tells his audience that Nigeria stands with the global community in the collective resolve to heal, restore, and sustain the earth.
Our continent is rich in renewable resources, biodiversity, and useful ingenuity. I hereby say with absolute certainty that we are not the problem. We are an integral part of the solution. This is why at COP30, we hope to demonstrate that Africa can lead in carbon capture through forests, in renewable energy expansion, in digital monitoring of emissions, and in regional cooperation that translates ambition into prosperity.
The Brazilian president, on his part, says This is the cup of truth. He asks world leaders to embrace multiculturalism in order to reverse the upward trends of the global temperature.
We have to embrace a new development model with much more fairness, resilient, and of low carbon.
While the current national plans by countries represent progress, the United Nations Secretary General says they still fall short of what is needed.
Too many countries are starved of the resources to adapt and locked out of the clean energy transition. And too many people are losing hope that their leaders will act. We need to move faster and move together.
Wales, Prince William.
In his first address to World Leaders Plenary in a United Nations Climate Conference, and on the back of his Earthshot Prize award in Rio de Janeiro on Wednesday night, the Prince of Wales, representing his father, King Charles III, reminds delegates that the time for partnership, protection and progress is now.
Let us use these inspiring surroundings here in the heart of the Amazon to rise to meet this moment, not with hesitation, but with courage, not with division, but with collaboration, not with delay, but with decisive commitment. Let us honor the leadership of those who have long protected the planet, indigenous peoples and local communities, and walk forward together.
Here in Berlin, countries are expected to, among other things, submit new sets of climate targets, push for a new path to increasing finance from $300 billion to the $1 trillion needed to boost efforts in reducing temperature and the impacts of climate change. From the Hangar Convention and Fair Center of the Amazon in Berlin, Brazil, Ayola Kasim, Channels Television News.
Well, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations says COP30, the meeting of world leaders on climate change, is an incredibly important watershed moment for the future of agriculture. Kaveh Zahedi, head of the climate division of the FAO, expresses concern about the accelerating climate impacts on food security ahead of the climate conference and stressed the importance of investing in agri-food system solutions to build resilience and reduce emissions. According to him, the strongest line of defense is a climate-resilient agri-food system, one that protects harvests, markets, and livelihoods from the next shock.
COP30 is an incredibly important watershed moment because I think it's the moment to, one, reiterate how agriculture and food systems have to be an integral part of discussions on adaptation and building resilience, on loss and damage, on finance and where that finance should be flowing, on just transition. All of this has to, in one way or another, touch upon agriculture, food systems, farmers. So in that sense, it's a critical moment. It's not about the future, it's happening right now. Climate extremes are impacting food and agriculture today. They are reducing yields. The unpredictability of the weather is making it very difficult for farmers to harvest. One extreme event undermines an entire year, an entire harvest. If we don't do anything about it, if the trajectory continues, well, the scenarios are there. In some parts of the world, it's going to be impossible to have rain-fed agriculture. In other parts of the world, the land degradation is going to increase. We already have a third of global agricultural land that's degraded. Imagine if that increases. So all of this puts pressure, of course, on ecosystems, but ultimately puts pressure on our communities and our food systems and us. Well, you can't deal with forests, you can't deal with agriculture without dealing with the people who are custodians of the land, who are producing our food, our agriculture. And in many cases, especially in the case of the forest, that is the indigenous peoples and the knowledge that they bring, traditional knowledge that they bring that can actually safeguard us against a very uncertain future. Investments in agri-food system solutions bring multiple benefits, right? Of course, it's about climate response, building resilience, reducing emissions, carbon sequestration, but it's also about the sustainable use of biodiversity. It's also about land degradation and reversing land degradation, and of course, it's about food security. So we firmly believe that agri-food system solutions bring benefits across the board, bring multiple benefits. And right now, if you look just at climate finance, only about 4% of it is making it to some of these solutions, like restoring degraded land, like agroforestry. And we need to increase that if really we're going to get the most, the optimum out of the solutions that only agriculture and food systems have to offer.
Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has unveiled the Climate Investment Opportunities Diagnostic Document, and it's aimed at aligning the state's climate priorities with viable financing strategies. Speaking at the 11th Lagos International Climate Summit, where he formally launched the policy document, Governor Sanwo-Olu also announced the establishment of Lagos Carbon, Africa's first domestic environmental market.
Deputy Governor, Your Excellencies, distinguished...
The 11th Lagos International Climate Change Summit brings together the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, his deputy, Kadri Hamzat, members of the State Executive Council, environmentalists and policymakers to deliberate on how to protect and sustain the future of the commercial city of Lagos. Environmental pollution is a major challenge confronting Lagos, but the state government is taking advantage of the opportunities the environment offers, calling on citizens to support the steps taken.
This year's summit also provides an opportunity to bridge a crucial gap, the gap between visionary climate action and sustainable financing needed to make it a reality. Our mission is clear: to unlock the capital that will help us build a resilience, drive innovation, and protect our coastal future as Lagos.
Other states like Osun are towing this line with the creation of a carbon economy blueprint.
We have begun the domestication of the National Climate Change Act 2021. We have established frameworks for greenhouse gas accounting at subnational level, and we are working toward a carbon economy blueprint that transforms emissions into opportunities.
Topical issues on blue economy, coastal innovation, and financing Africa's coastal resilience was also highlighted at the event.
The Blue Economy Policy Framework and the Presidential Initiative on Climate Action are clear statements of intent from the federal government. At the state level, Lagos is developing innovative water transport systems, coastal protection programs, and waste-to-energy initiatives.
A representative of the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy reels out the ministry's achievements in the last 2 years.
In the last 3.5 years, we have no single piracy in Nigerian territorial waters. We have also been able to reduce piracy in the Gulf of Guinea by 90%.
Join me in welcoming Mr. Governor Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, Governor
Sanwo-Olu says the state government is building a coastal resilience that will unlock more economic opportunities for the state.
We have commenced the gazetting of our wetland reserves and mangroves forests alongside our wetland carbon credit framework to reward communities for conservation efforts and that will attract climate capital into restorative projects.
The event was rounded off with the launch of the Climate Investment Opportunities Diagnostic, a new policy document designed to connect environmental priorities with actionable investment strategy for building a resilient, low-carbon future.
The second World Summit for Social Development has concluded in Doha, Qatar, with calls for countries to move swiftly from commitments to implementation, ensuring that the Doha Political Declaration delivers measurable progress on poverty reduction, decent work, and social inclusion. World leaders came together to redefine strategies for social progress, strengthen global partnerships, and promote inclusive policies that foster equitable opportunities for all. Alongside the formal plenary and roundtable discussions, more than 250 solution sessions were held to exchange practical approaches to expanding social protection, improving access to healthcare and education, and supporting work that provides dignity. Well, one of such is the I-HIL framework where participants called for the empowerment of Africa through integrated social development in income, health, education, access to water, and laudable living standards, all in alignment with the UN Sustainable Development Goals.
Social equity is a very important concept for us to consider at this point in time. And I'm so pleased that this is a theme that we have decided to tackle, as it includes things like the principle of fairness in social policy, ensuring that everyone has an equal opportunity to thrive by addressing systemic inequalities. I'm sure you know we First Ladies, this is where we thrive, in challenging systemic inequalities. We are the soft power, we raise our voices, and we try to get things to change. For us, it goes beyond simple equality by recognizing that different people have different needs and require different types of support to achieve fair outcomes and access resources like education, like healthcare, and a safe environment.
IHEAL stands for incomes, health, education, access to water, and living standards. Represents far more than an acronym. It is a philosophy, a recognition that flourishing depends upon a delicate harmony between economic opportunity, well-being, knowledge, and dignity. What distinguishes the IHEAL model is its integrated and adaptive nature. It does not prescribe from above. Rather, it empowers from within. By uniting global standards with local wisdom, it transforms communities from recipients of aid into architects of their own advancement. Its potential reach is both practical and profound. Communities lifted from poverty into prosperity, youth and women equipped not merely to participate in progress, but to lead it, and environments fortified against the vulnerabilities of a changing climate.
From our side, as a family office in the southern point of South Africa, we are highly involved in the community upliftment and digital transformation, as well as community upliftment of ecosystems across the African continent. I am African. I'm born in South Africa, even if it doesn't look like it. But we are very proud of being part of this, working closely with various African diaspora globally, as well as family offices, other family offices in partnership with our family offices, including governments, part of the World Business Angel Investment Forum, and which is part of the G20, which is currently happening in South Africa this year, as you know.
IHEAL certainly is more than just a framework. It's a transformative development model that addresses the root causes of poverty while unlocking the full potential of humanity. It unites climate resilience, health equity, and community-led development into one scalable, adaptable system that governments and partners like you can integrate into your existing strategies today. If we are to meet the Sustainable Development Goals with integrity and speed, we must act together. We must act now, guided by frameworks that heal both people and planet. Let IHEAL framework, be that bridge between vision and action, between policy and possibility. Together, let us commit to healing our world sustainably, equitably, and inclusively.
Also, other stories. Judges at the International Criminal Court have confirmed war crimes and crimes against humanity charges against Ugandan rebel leader Joseph Kony. This is expected to pave the way for a trial, although only if he is captured. A 3-judge panel has ruled that there are substantial grounds to believe Kony is responsible for 29 counts of atrocities, including murder, rape, and sexual enslavement, committed while he led the Lord's Resistance Army. That's the militia that terrorized northern Uganda and later parts of Central Africa. Deputy Prosecutor Mame Mandiaye says the LRA's campaign left deep scars on community, noting that the social and cultural fabric of northern Uganda has been torn apart and it is still struggling to rebuild itself. The hearing marks the first time the ICC held proceedings in absentia. Kony rose to global notoriety in 2012 after an online campaign highlighting his crimes that went viral. Yet, despite years of international pursuit, he remains at large. Well, Cameroon's President Paul Biya has called for calm and pledges to restore order in the country. This was as he was sworn in on Thursday following a disputed election. President Biya took his oath of office at the parliament in what residents described as the heavily militarized and partially deserted capital, Yaoundé. In his inauguration speech, the world's oldest ruler blamed irresponsible politicians and the diaspora for inciting unrest. He then promised to stay faithful to the confidence of the Cameroonian people and vowed to work for a united, stable and prosperous country. Days of deadly protests followed the announcement that the 92-year-old had won an 8th term in office. Opposition leaders and supporters say the election was rigged and blame President Biya for the problems facing the country. A UK maritime agency says attackers have boarded a ship off the coast of Somalia after firing machine guns and rocket-propelled grenades at the vessel. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations UK MTO has issued an alert about the raid, which is said happened about 560 nautical miles southeast of the Somali town of Isle. Private security firm Ambre said the attackers were probably Somali pirates who have been active in the region in recent days. The Greek shipping company Latsko Marine Management also confirmed the attack, saying all the ship's 24 crew were safe and accounted for, and they remain in close contact. The vessel, named Hellas Aphrodite, was built in 2016 and was en route from Sikka, India to Durban, South Africa. The attack comes amid a resurgence of piracy in that region, which had declined after peaking more than a decade ago. Well, there is, to our lighter stories now, there's a new standard of luxury in town, exclusively catering to four-legged friends. As Afrita's Dog Hotel and Daycare in Cape Town marks 10 years of operation and over 370,000 stays. Founded by Yannick Clou a decade ago and named after her beloved dog, the establishment revolutionized pet care as the first dog hotel on the continent. Additionally, the hotel features a full-service salon and spa where pups can enjoy grooming sessions. During the day, the dogs can spend 2 to 4 hours in a secure outdoor park socializing and playing to their heart's content.
This was the first dog hotel in Africa, and we've opened in December 2015. And the biggest reason why I opened is because I looked for a place where I can take my dog to, where I can see my dog on the camera 24/7, and where there's just a safe space for anything that is dog. So we do a doggy hotel, we've got a daycare, we've got a hotel, we've got a spa, and then we have a dog park, we do dog walks, and then we have a physiotherapist, for example, and we're just like a center for everything that the dog might need. So they think it's for the rich and famous, and that's actually not what we're all about. We are everything dog. We don't see in color, we don't see in size, and we definitely don't see in bank balances. So we treat dogs exactly like what their need is. For example, a customer that needs to come in for daycare that lives in a flat, for example, the dog would be in the daycare in a school environment. We'll go to the dog park, we'll get a wash if he needs a wash. And then we also work with a lot of the community people who has dogs, and let's say the guy who lives on the street needs to go to the hospital or something happened and he's in jail, for example. The community know that they can bring his dog to Fritz because the dog has been sterilized, the dog has been neutered and vaccinated, and that dog is just as regular, or we just treat him exactly the same like the paying customer. So Fritz is a community center. It is a center for everything dog, and yeah, it's like a little piece of heaven. I had 5 dogs at the time, and I also went away and I needed a place for my dogs, and that's when I started Fritz. So I saw the concept in 2010. I studied full-time and I sat in class and I saw this concept on the computer of a dog hotel called Sniff in the USA. And I said to my friend Koi, one day I'm going to open up a dog hotel. So a dog from a shelter that was adopted, for example, has a lot more anxiety in an environment where there's lots of dogs. So we need to desensitize him again and make him feel like he's not in a shelter environment where he's safe. And there's a total different approach than with a dog that don't have any background of abuse or anything. So it's really like kids that go to school, we need to look at the background of the dog, and then we adapt what we need to do to make that dog feel comfortable.
And as we end our program today, here's our fun fact about the continent. Did you know that Mount Cameroon is considered one of Africa's most active volcanoes, with frequent eruptions recorded over the past centuries? It stands as the largest mountain in West Africa and one of the largest volcanoes on the continent. Mount Cameroon is part of the Cameroon volcanic line, but is the only active volcano along this chain. Its most recent eruption was a minor explosive event that happened in February 2012. And that's it on the program for today and for the week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde. Have a lovely weekend.